Welcome back. So, with all the talk about the Winnipeg Jets right now, and the what's wrong with Winnipeg? Why does everybody want out? Not everybody does. Scheifele's on a long-term contract. Wheeler's been there forever. Ehlers is on a long-term contract. I want to take a look at Kyle Connor because I think Kyle Connor is one of the least talked about amongst the really good goal scorers in the league. And I mean, like, he is a very good goal scorer and an impressive all-around player, even though the physical side of the game isn't there. And I'll say this, Laine throws a lot more hits than does Connor. And yet, to me, Connor's the guy that, in a Game 7 situation, I would probably throw Connor over the boards instead of Laine. That's me. So, now, with him being a left winger, he's not on the same wing as Laine. Laine's a right winger. But he plays with Scheifele and Wheeler, and anybody who has seen that line together over the last couple of years for Winnipeg knows that's a fantastic line. And when you get into the complaints over who's getting ice time and who's not, it is hard to argue against that line. Yeah, Wheeler's older. He's going to be, hitting the decline within the next year or two, you'd have to think. But again, when it's your best line, you don't really want to mess that up. So he's drafted 17th overall in 2015 to a collective what? Pardon? After Boston had taken their 3 picks in a row and not taken Connor. Because he was seen as one of the better players in this draft. It was seen as a steal when he fell to Winnipeg at 17. I don't think they could sprint to the podium fast enough to draft him. So they draft him, and he's a little bit slow to get to that NHL level. So he gets 20 games in 2016, 2017. So year and a half after he's drafted, he gets those games. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Records 1 hit. His Corsi. And Corsi's a number that if you don't know it, if you do know it, there you go. There are people who pay attention, people who don't, and I thought for this video, getting into the weeds of it, sure. It was 42.92%, which is low. His ice time was 12 minutes and 13 seconds per game. His shooting percentage, only 8.3%. Goals per 60 minutes on the ice, 0.57. Points per 60 minutes on the ice, 0.85. Of all these stats that we don't cover enough in the hockey world, goals per 60 minutes on the ice, points per 60 minutes on the ice, might be the one that I'm most fascinated by, because there are players who have a very high total there, but it's because of how they're being utilized, and there are players with low totals, and again, it may be how they're being utilized. So 2017-2018, coming off of that subpar season to start things off, he is still a rookie because he only played 20 games that first year. 76 games, 31 goals, 26 assists, 57 points, throws 18 hits. His Corsi was the best it has been in his career, 50.66%. His ice time, 16 minutes and 54 seconds per game. His shooting percentage, 16.1%. And he finished 4th in the Calder vote. His goals per 60 minutes, 1.03. Points per 60 minutes played, 2.23, which is the best it's been in his career. So this was actually a very good season for him. And he finished 4th in the Calder voting because people could see he was a pretty good pickup. 31 goals in his rookie year. Not too shabby. But again, when you play with Laine, you're going to be overshadowed by Laine. Even though they're not on the same line. 2018-2019, 82 games, 34 goals, 32 assists, 66 points, hits, 9. So, not a big hitter. Corsi for percentage, 48.39%. And if you get into his relative to other players and relative to other players on his line, I'm not getting into the weeds of that on this video. But it's close. And he's not actively hurting his line mates, is the best I can put this. He's a very good player. So the 34 goals is solid. The 66 points as well. His ice time goes up to 19 minutes and 15 seconds a game. So that's where he's on the first line. Shooting percentage, 15%. So it drops from where it was the year before, even though he has more goals because he has more ice time and more shots. Goals per 60 minutes drops to 0.93 per 60 minutes. Points per 60 minutes, 1.80, which is again a drop. So the overall numbers in this season look great. The other stats, when you get into the weeds, tell you his play dropped off just a little bit. However, 2019-2020, 71 games played, 38 goals, which was 6th in the National Hockey League. Kyle Connor was 6th in goals scored. And yet, whenever we talk about Winnipeg, it's Laine. And I get it. He's the bigger name. 35 assists, 73 points, and of course, we know he's been disgruntled for a while. Whereas Connor, relatively gruntled. So 18 hits thrown last year, which is a tie for a career high. 48.4% Corsi. So this Corsi settled into around 48.4%, which if you think that's important, you might think that's concerning. If you don't think that's important, hey, throw that out. And 21 minutes and 5 seconds in ice time, so his ice time goes higher, and his shooting percentage went up, 15.9%. So 38 goals in 71 games tells you if they'd played the other 11 games, he gets to 40 goals and may have got to 43 or 44 goals, right? Goals per 60 minutes, 1.14. Points per 60 minutes, 2.17. And these are numbers I'm going to start using a lot this year. Not so much the Corsi, but the goals and points per 60 minutes, because I think that's going to give us a better idea of who had a really good year over the shortened season than maybe they had otherwise. So when you look at his playoff totals, below his regular season totals, which end with 249 games played, 105 goals, 96 assists, 201 points. And his shooting percentage is at an average of 15.4%. So he was above that percentage twice, below it twice. But 15% is right around where you can probably label him when it comes to a shooting percentage going forward. 2017-2018, he makes his debut in the playoffs that year. 17 games as they went to the conference final. 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. The following year, 6 games played, 3 goals, 2 assists. And, of course, the play-in round against Calgary where Scheifele and Laine are taken out immediately, played 4 games in that round, 1 assist. So he struggled because, the other guys were out. So 27 games in the playoffs, 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points. For Connor to emerge from the shadow of the other players on his team, I think a 45-plus goal season would be great. I also think that a nice long playoff run where he scores maybe 10 goals in a playoffs where Winnipeg goes all the way to the conference finals, that'd be awesome too. Or if it was this year, it'd be the semifinals, right? Playing with Scheifele and Wheeler helps, but I think he helps Scheifele and Wheeler as well. And what this means is the second line, likely for this year, Ehlers, Stastny, and Laine. And that's where Jack Roslovic would be asking for a trade. That's why I get it. And I know there's people who are going to say Roslovic doesn't really have the top 6 potential. But he believes that he does, and he believes that it's being stifled in Winnipeg. And for Laine, he believes that he belongs on that first line. But Connor is that 45, maybe 50 goal scorer. Scheifele's the guy who can distribute the puck all over the place, and Wheeler's their captain and their leader. That line, to me, the way they complement each other is fantastic. If you put Laine on that line, there's a risk, because then you have 2 guys who are natural goal scorers on each wing. It can work. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you end up where one of them is getting all the goals, and the other one goes ice cold. So I think trying to have a goal scorer on each line, a pure goal scorer on each line, which Laine projects to be, and Connor's already shown that he is. Being number 6 in the NHL in goals this past season shows that he is that. I think the Jets are in good shape if they can keep everybody together. And, of course, Stastny has to have the bounce-back season, too. The reliability of Connor, though, shows up when you look at his scoring by quarter. So the first quarter of 2018-2019, 18 games, 9 goals, 7 assists, 16 points. Right around a point a game. The past season, 21 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. Not too shabby. Now, the next quarter, 23 games, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points. I got this from Dauber Hockey, and the way that they do the quarters is by the quarter of games played by the National Hockey League. So a team may play less games in one quarter than they play in the next. So 23 games, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points. That is the lowest points total over any quarter that he's had. But this season, in that second quarter, 22 games, 14 goals, 11 assists, 25 points. And just remarkably reliable after. Third quarter, 21 games, 10 goals, 9 assists, 19 points. This season, 21 games, 9 goals, 13 assists, 22 points. The fourth quarter of the 2018-2019 season, 20 games, 10 goals, 8 assists, 18 points. And this year, 7 games because of the shutdown, right? 8 goals, 2 assists, 10 points. This is what I'm talking about with consistent scoring. This is why there's you can look at guys and go, well, he got 30 goals and he got 30 goals. It's the same. But when it's reliable, when you're not looking at a guy who might get 4 goals one game, 2 goals the next, 3 goals a week later, which is still 9 goals, but then he goes quiet for the next 15 games. With Connor, it just seems to be very, very reliable. And any quarter of a season, you can rely on probably 17, 18 points from him in a 20-game period. And that may change. That may go up because he's still very young. He's not an old player by any stretch. September 28th, 2019, he signed a long-term extension. So this idea that players don't want to stay in Winnipeg, Connor proves that's wrong. That's not necessarily the case. 7 years for roughly $50 million. According to Cap Friendly, it's $1 short of $50 million. Should have had a better agent. Should have stood your ground, got exactly $50 million. Anyways, so it works out to about $7.42 or $7.143 million as his cap hit, which is reasonable for a guy who's top 10 in goal scoring in the NHL. After signing that contract, he stays among the elite scorers and actually gets better. He has a modified no-trade clause that kicks in for the 2024-2025 season. So he didn't even get a no-movement clause with that contract. He signs a reasonable cap hit for Winnipeg, and he doesn't even get the no-trade protection that a lot of players insist on when they're at this level. So Connor has been excellent for the Jets. He gave them a reasonable contract in terms of what his demands were. They offered him a reasonable contract, and it all worked out for everybody. So if you're a Jets fan, you know, I do pay attention to what's going on with the team as much as possible in a 31-team league, and I've always been impressed with Kyle Connor. Any game I've watched for Winnipeg, I've always been very impressed with his drive, his consistency, and shift over shift, how well he plays. And with Connor and Ehlers as your number one and number two left wingers, you could make an argument that is among the best 1-2 punches on the left wing when it comes to work ethic and overall skill, because Ehlers and Connor are both fantastic. So again, I can understand why we're hearing rumors that Roslovic wants out, may not be getting along with management, which is a whole other issue. And I hear that every now and then, where somebody will pass along information to me saying, I've heard the management of this team that they're kind of pricks. And that does happen, where somebody will tell me, yeah, you know, I know somebody, this person, and yeah, they're jerks. It's stuff that I've heard going back to the early 90s. Rumors about how teams are or players are, they circulate wildly in Canada. One of those things. You can count on seeing Moose and hearing hockey rumors in Canada. That's it. And if you're out here, Wales. That's, you know, guaranteed. Even streets. Anyways, there you go. Kyle Connor, Winnipeg Jet. He's a Winnipeg Jet now. He's going to be a Winnipeg Jet later. And I think eventually he may end up hitting 45 or 50 goals. Now, what's interesting, too, is the idea of doing this video. It started with a cameo request where somebody says, hey, you know, can you talk about Kyle Connor? And I thought, yeah. So I looked on the channel. I'm like, I've never done a video on Kyle Connor. All right, well, we'll do the cameo, and then I'll do a video on Kyle Connor, because I love the kid. I think he's great. And I can call them kids because I'm a lot older than they are, so by my standard, they're kids. Anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.